Really excited to see you here this morning. This microphone is extremely loud, so everyone in the whole of the Excel can probably hear me. But that's good. That means we're going to get tons of people here to come and learn all about Google Apps and what we're doing, what we're doing with technology and education. So let's get started. Here's my clicker. So one of the things that we want to get across to you these days is that actually, even though we're talking about technology and education, what we're trying to do really as teachers is actually prepare students for for the world of work, for university. What's it going to look like? What's going to happen? And in fact, we're not actually sure. So we're not actually sure what exactly the world is going to look like, what we're going to prepare our students for. What's work going to look like when your students graduate from university? What jobs are they going to do? When I started in university, my job didn't exist, my team didn't exist, Gmail didn't exist, none of these tools even existed. So what's really important for educators to figure out how to do is actually how to use technology to actually develop the skills that students need in order to be successful. So this is one of our shocking statistics that we just like to put out there, that there's going to be, by 2025, there's going to be 45 million European jobs in high-paying occupations, from high-tech, computer programming, those types of occupations. But in fact, the way we're going at the moment, we'll actually only have 13 million Europeans who are actually qualified to fill those jobs. So obviously, there's a disconnect there. There's something that we need to address. And what we feel is that we actually need to be developing not competencies in particular softwares or use of different devices, but it's actually just developing core skills. And how can we use technology in order to develop those core skills? So these are some of the skills that we believe that are really crucial for kids to leave school with and for them to leave university with in order to be successful in the world of work in 2030, whatever that looks like. So let's have a look at some of those. So when we look at communication, we're looking at how things have changed. And as Darwin said, it's not the brightest, the biggest, or the best that will survive, but those that adapt the quickest. And that's obviously something that Google believes very strongly in. We change our products in order to meet the needs of what's happening. We don't, 5 years from now, what's technology going to look like? Twitter wasn't invented. It was only invented in the last 5-6 years. Things just change at such a massively, dramatic pace that actually, we do need to have products that meet that innovation and change quickly to meet the needs of the market. So this is just something that we like to show. This is communication back in the day. This was the fastest, the quickest way. The telegram, bringing emails, your communication directly as quickly as possible into the hands of your recipient. Well, obviously now we've moved from that to more the cutting edge technology. So if people here have heard of Google Glass, these are glasses that you can wear that literally put information no longer just at your fingertips, but literally right in front of you. So obviously this is something that will be coming along in the next few years. This is not something that's that might be in classrooms next month. But what is in classrooms that can help communication are things like Google Documents. So has anyone tried Google Documents? Are people familiar with Google Documents? Fantastic. So we've got people who are familiar with Google Docs. So you'll know from using them, or for people who mightn't use them, this is what a Google document would look like. So you can see here we've got Kelly and Kathy who are collaborating in the same document. Kelly can see what Kathy is writing. She can, they can both see who's doing what. And as a teacher, you can also go back and see the revision history. So you can see actually what Kelly has done most of the work. So you can grade appropriately. But also what's really important is in the last year, we've actually launched Google Hangouts. So this is video communication, or video communication. So you can actually discuss with up to 15 people in the same Hangout, and you can work on your document in real time. You've got the same one window open, where you're working, you're collaborating on your project, and also chatting with your colleagues that you can see right in front of you. So that means, if you can just imagine how that can be used in classroom, if you've got a kid who's at home, who's ill, who can't be in class that day, perhaps they could video conference in, they can still collaborate, they can still work with their colleagues. Or imagine if your kids had, if they have pen pals in another country, how amazing would it be that they could actually work on a project at the same time together. So that's how we're talking about communication, literally, being massively changed, that you can use today in your classroom for free. So let's have a look at another one. So collaboration. So collaboration has obviously massively changed over the last number of years. When we think of schools, if you are sitting down to do a test and you as a kid look over and look to see what your neighbor is doing, we call that cheating still. But in the world of work, if I were to hand up a report and say, I've done this all by myself, I didn't need any help, well, my manager would just probably throw that out. They wouldn't even use it. It's not relevant because I haven't collaborated with anyone. So we need to make sure that kids learn how to collaborate. They know how to work in teams, because actually that's what the real world of work and the world of universities is all about, learning to work together. So why do kids need to wait until they're 18 and they go to university or they enter the world of work to learn about that? Actually, we should be teaching them immediately about teamwork and how to collaborate together. So I have a quick question. Who knows what they were doing on the 24th of July, 2010? Does anyone know? Is that a big day for anyone? Does anyone remember where they were? Well, in fact, on the 24th of July, we asked people from all over the world to submit a short YouTube video that we call the Day in the Life Project. And we asked people from all over the world, tell us what you're doing, tell us what your day looks like. And we got submissions from every culture, every nationality all over the world and in every language. People telling us, what they did. And we got the world-renowned director, Ridley Scott, to pull these all together into a full film. You can actually watch this on YouTube now. It's available for anyone to watch. And it's a fantastic, coherent movie. And he's used this by pulling together the power of collaboration and using all those YouTube videos that he's collected and sharing that with the world. So it literally just shows how you can use simple, free products like YouTube just to bring everyone together. It's really great. So I'm going to show you a quick video now. This is a video, practical example of what you can use in your classroom today. This is Google Documents. And this video just shows, so if you can imagine you've got two students in your classroom and they're collaborating on a document together, how would that look like? How would that look? So let me just play this quick video so you can see what that would look like.
Oh, here she comes. She's a scary lady. She's an angry tiger. She's a man gobbler. Eater. She's a man eater. Oh, here she comes. Watch out, boy. She'll chew you up. Oh, here she comes.
Okay, I know that's a really silly example, but it's a great example just to show how people can work together and the importance of working together. So we know we've had all these amazing collaborations, but I've spoken to teachers throughout the conference who are using Google Documents, who have had their kids working on the most amazing projects with students in their classrooms, students in partner schools, students in other countries. So we can please definitely show up for some of the other seminar sessions that are happening that are run by teachers who are going to be talking about how they're actually using them in the classroom. And obviously, one of the last things I just want to look at is just developing kids' curiosity. How do we use that innate skill that they have, which is trying to always learn out more, find out more? How do we just encourage that? I love this slide because it literally just shows, these strange objects that in fact actually in a couple of years we might have to label for kids to give them more familiar terms, so actually this thing can actually be used as Command Z. This erases things, just to give them a sense of, put things back into perspective for them, and one of the ways that we used to get kids to develop these problem-solving skills and curiosity skills was to get them to take a Rubik's Cube and solve a Rubik's Cube. That was a measure of how kids are thinking and how they're developing. Well, nowadays what might happen is you might get your kids using something like the App Inventor to actually create an app to do something like this. So let's look at a different example of how people have actually used Google, or how people have used the internet to actually create an app which actually solves a different sort of a problem. So I'm going to play another video now.
Go, go, go.
These guys are actually trying to break the world record for solving a Rubik's Cube.
Oh, you beauty.
So you can see how excited those guys are. I mean, literally, they've actually just broken the world record. There's no human that can solve a Rubik's Cube that quickly yet. But obviously, those are the types of things. Perhaps your students mightn't be developing those types of apps immediately, but you can use things like the App Inventor, which was created by Google, in order to actually introduce your kids to coding, introduce them to thinking in different ways, using their skills, developing those skills that are going to be massively important to them in the coming years. But our main point here as well is not that technology is the be-all and end-all. In fact, technology, hardware, software that we have today shouldn't actually be the focus. We shouldn't be teaching kids to type or to do the types of things that I know I learned when I was in school. The technology shouldn't actually matter. What should matter is the content. Kids should just be able to open up a web browser and access the information directly. They shouldn't have to think, do I have this software at home? Can I use this at home? Is this compatible on the device that I have? It should just work. So that's why we're saying technology is just a tool. It should actually be invisible. So that's one of our key messages, is that actually regardless of what device kids are using, regardless of their situation at home, they should just be able to use any device to access all of the learning tools, so that everyone has this equal base, every kid has the same equal opportunities, regardless of where they are, what devices they have access to, and how much money they have. They should just be able to go online and use the tools that we have made available to them. But obviously, technology is just one part. So it's just one cog in this whole wheel of education. So obviously we also need educators. You're far more important in order to actually create the content and put together a pedagogy. Because obviously we're an engineering company, we're not an education company. So we need teachers to actually pull this all together to make this relevant to kids. So I'm just going to run really quickly through what Google does in education. One of our key questions that we get is, Google, I use Google search. Well, what's Google doing here at an educational conference? So what we talk about is this foundation of technology that we create. So when we talk about a foundation of technology, we're talking about things that millions of people around the world use, like Gmail, Google Documents, Google Calendar. These are things that millions of people use already. But in fact, by allowing schools to actually use these for free with a manageability layer over the top of it as well, we also give schools the ability to actually use the technology, that is freely available to schools for schools to use. We've also created these devices, Chromebook devices, that are literally, they do not have a hard drive on them. The main idea is you open it up, you log in, and you're immediately directly connected to the web. So you can come and try out some of our Chromebooks. We have them at the back here. But the idea is that once a Chromebook goes from closed to logged in 8 seconds. So imagine how amazing that would be when you're sitting in a classroom of 30 kids and you can get them online and learning in 8 seconds. I know from talking to so many teachers that is really, really crucial. They're not running from computer to computer to try and get kids logged in. So this is just changing the way that kids are learning. The technology is actually becoming completely invisible in the classroom. The kids are just using the devices. They're logging on directly and they're straight into learning. And when we talk about Google Apps for education, we're actually referring to these tools that you might all be familiar with already, like Gmail, Google Talks, Google Calendar, Google Drive. So these are tools that millions of people use for their own consumer personal use. But what we've done for education is we've enabled this manageability layer over the top of it so that you as a school can control the security features, the filtering features, all these extra things. So if you do have questions about this, please do come and talk to any of my colleagues. We're all wearing the white t-shirts and we'd be happy to walk you through a demonstration of these products. But obviously, as I said before, then the technology actually is only one tiny part. The other part is enabling communities. So we've got various different communities. So if you go online, pick up some of our collateral on the back, we've got links to various things like the Google Teacher Academy, Google App Certified Teachers, in order to actually enable teaching communities to connect with other teachers, to share resources, to share how they're using the web as a learning tool. And when we talk about making learning magical, we're talking about bringing together all of these aspects and enabling experiences that would just never have been possible only a few short years ago. So creating things like, for example, the Google Science Fair, which actually only launched this Wednesday. This is a global science fair where kids from all over the world can submit their science projects and compete on a global level. It's open for 13 to 18-year-olds. So if you can imagine as a 13-year-old being able to actually bring your science project to that kind of a level, that's something that would never have been possible only a few short years ago. One of the other magical experiences that we're trying to bring into classrooms is the whole idea of actually bringing education to students via the web. Is anyone familiar with this painting? It's actually just a small cutout of a whole painting. Anyone seen it? This is the Night Watch. It's in the Rijksmuseum. And this is a tiny, tiny section of this huge tableau. So if you go to the Rijksmuseum to see it, it's this enormous, enormous painting. It's about 3 meters wide. And when you go to visit it, you have to stand about 4 meters away in order to actually see this painting. But this, obviously, as you can see, is a really, really, really close, zoomed in view of the Night Watch. And this is actually possible through a project that we've launched called the Google Art Project. So if you Google Art Project, you'll come up and you'll find absolutely dozens and dozens of museums who've actually enabled us to walk around their museums using Google Street View technology. We've taken photos of all of their paintings so that kids can literally zoom into the paintings. They can almost touch them in a way that actually no one would ever have been able to do before. And this is fantastic because it means if you're doing a module in this, or if you're doing a module in history, for example, you can use the Cultural Institute, where you walk around various different museums to look at different arts, to look at different artifacts that are available in the museum. So literally in one afternoon, you can bring your kids to the Rijksmuseum in Amsterdam, followed up by a trip to the Imperial War Museum to have a walk around. This is really bringing learning to the classroom, to the kids directly. As I mentioned before, we use Google Chromebooks as a way to access learning. Really would love to have more chats about Chromebooks. Please do come and talk to and have a look at some of our Chromebooks on the back. So these are some of the devices. Chromebooks themselves are actually built by a number of providers like Samsung, Acer, Lenovo, and probably more to come. So please do come and have a look. Chromebooks themselves are really easy. They're really easy to manage. They're really simple. They're really fast. And they're absolutely fantastic for schools. And just, obviously people are saying, well, these Chromebooks, what are they? What do they have on them? Well, in fact, what we've just done is we've enabled users to actually plug in all sorts of different educational apps. Google, as I said before, we're not an education company. We're a technology company. What we've done is we've created these app stores where people who are actual educators and who understand the education space so much better than us have created applications that you can plug in really simply and really easily into your Google Apps experience. So your kids, for example, can be collaborating on a Google document together, up to 50 of them in one document, but they can also pull in experiences from other third-party providers like the Khan Academy to learn more about that particular subject. Last slide. Great. So we've got absolutely tons and tons and tons of resources that are available online. So I would just encourage you to have a look, Google for training resources, our guide to going Google, education on our events, which are actually online seminars which are held by teachers, for teachers, talking about how they use the web for teaching and learning in the classroom. So please do pick up one of our brochures to have a look for those. We'll also be We'll also be scanning everyone's badges. If you haven't had your badge scanned, make sure that you do, because what we're going to be doing in a couple of weeks is we're going to be actually uploading all of the seminar sessions that have been held by Googlers and also by teachers talking about their experiences. So we'll be sending all of those out by email. So if you haven't had your badge scanned yet, do make sure that you get it done. Also, we're going to be walking around here all day long. Googlers you'll be able to see us in our white t-shirts. So if you do have any questions, please do come up and ask us. We'd be more than happy to help. Thank you very much.